Okay. Good morning, everybody. I am Eureka John, and you are at Eureka Street Creative Podcast. And it is November 8th, 2023. And I'm broadcasting live on YouTube from Leander, Texas. And I don't know what the weather's like or anything like that. Hold on, restart some music here. Okay. Live from Leander, Texas. It's a suburb of Austin. This is my podcast. It is 5:43 in the morning. And I'm trying to do this every single day again. Maybe not every single day, but that's what I'm striving for. I'm going live again, and gonna have all my mistakes just out there for everybody to see, and no production, no error fixing or anything like that. So feel free to jump in the chat if you want. Smash that like button and subscribe and all that. I'm at I think 991 subscribers. I was at 1,000 for just a little bit there, but I stopped. I stopped broadcasting, and so here I am back at 1,000. Is this live? So let's make sure. Okay, we're still live. Anyway, today I have several things we'll talk about. I do kind of want to go ahead and look at prices. So let me go over here to this scene. Let me get my window browser up, and let's see here. We'll pull up this. No, not my Discord. Let me pull up the right web browser and pull up the Dark Forest theory of the internet. Okay, so let me get that pulled up. And okay, here we go. Dark forest theory and the internet is what we'll be talking about today. And actually, let me change that text for the date, because this is episode number 503. Stacking them up. So, okay. Episode 503, November 8th, 2023. I'm broadcasting live from Leander, Texas. And my name is Eureka John. You can find me on Twitter at Eureka John, the number 1. You can usually find me in the Bankless DAO or in the Crypto Sapiens podcast project. That's another project that I work on, and I'm now a founder of, technically. So I've been promoted to founder. I've been there since pretty much day one of that podcast. And on this show is more of my experimental show where I just I always say it's my sandbox where I play around with different Web3 programs and audiovisual equipment. It's my message in a bottle where I reach out to other people that are potentially out there that know what the hell I'm talking about. And it's my what else did I say? Oh, my brain dump for all the stuff that I read, the articles that I read all throughout the week, all the snippets of knowledge that I pick up from the people I talk to, and the stuff that I see on crypto Twitter. And now it's not just crypto Twitter. Web3 has moved into the social media space. There's other projects out there like Farcaster and Warpcast on Farcaster. There's Post Tech. There's there's a lot of other Web3. There's Lens protocol as well. Lens Tube. So there's Web3 projects out there. I know I'm broadcasting on YouTube just because it's easy, but I will be making efforts to move over into things like, there's another one called Unlonely here. And this one is on the Farcaster platform. Within Farcaster, see, what is Farcaster? It's a protocol for building decentralized social apps. Basically, it's a portable social graph that you can take with you to a bunch of different apps, and Farcaster is the underlying code protocol to be able to do that. And you can go to Warpcast. So let me see, warpcast.com, and you have to go in through your mobile to be able to sign up for it. But basically, look at this. It looks just like Twitter. I mean, but you can join a bunch of different channels of things you're interested in. There's Farcaster is great. Right now, it's a bunch of Web3 people, so it's kind of my tribe. But they don't just talk, because there's another one here. It's called Post Tech, and I like Post Tech too. You can monetize on your profile and on your reputation and on your content and stuff like that, and have people buy and sell shares of you. There's oh wow, porn's already starting to get into 18 plus. Okay, is already getting into Post Tech. Man, they're on top of the technology. Here you can build up your brand, and people can buy shares of you, basically, of your brand, and then buy and sell them, which is good. But it gets a little speculative and less about the content. And a lot of times people on Post Tech just talk about Post Tech. But I do like the model. It sounds really cool. It's post.tech and then warpcast.com. You can go try both of those out for yourself and find the similarities and differences. I actually did a video 2 episodes back about Post Tech, and I interviewed one of the main people. Well, he's not a developer there, but he's super enthusiastic about it, Above Average Joe, and he's also the community manager at Bankless DAO. So go check out that episode if you want to know a little bit more about the ins and outs of Post Tech, because it is a cool Web3 social media site. What's this dude on the skateboard? Oh, cool. All right. And so there's Warpcast and Post Tech. Warpcast is on the Farcaster ecosystem, and Post Tech, this is just on Ethereum ecosystem. Anyway, so let's get back to what I was gonna talk about. I wanted to talk about the dark forest theory of the internet. I've been seeing this around all the time. You just see it whenever you hang around the crypto and Web3 space. You see the dark forest, people talking about the dark forest, and a lot of times they're referring to like zero knowledge proofs, ZK syncs, and stuff like that. And what is that? Well, that's a way to do an interaction anonymously with somebody, but knowing that the other party is telling the truth without them giving up any of the information that they have. So imagine you're dealing with a friend who is kidnapped, right? And you have to deal with the kidnappers, and you have to give them money for ransom, and then they have to produce your friend. Well, how do you know that they have your friend, and how do they know that you have your money without like actually blowing the cover of who's talking to who? So ZK proofs can kind of solve that issue, right? Or how can here's the classic example of the bartender or the bouncer. How can you let a bouncer, before you go into a club, know that you're over 21 without showing them your license that have all your other information about you, like your picture, your address, your birth date, and everything like that? What is a way to let them know that you're over 21 without giving them all your personal information? Well, zero knowledge proofs fixes this, and this is kind of one of the things that it kind of red lights or green lights you, that crypto can kind of help fix. Anyway, so that's kind of this dark, murky area of the internet. But that's not all that the dark forest is talking about. That's one aspect of it. So here's an interesting article, The Dark Forest Theory of the Internet. What is the internet becoming with Web3? You know, because the internet kind of opened up this big agora. And if you don't know what agora is, it's a Greek word for big, wide open space. And people who have agoraphobia are fearful of being in large open spaces. And a lot of times, have you ever been down in like in a concert, and you know it's you and just a huge crowd and just a really large open space, and then that's more, it's kind of like agora claustrophobia. I know there's probably a name for a fear of large crowds too, but yeah, that's it. You know, this is like this, you just suddenly feel vertigo and all that. Anyway, so the dark forest theory of the internet, this also is what the internet is becoming, a dark forest. So I found this article intriguing. And I read in the first book of this trilogy, The Three-Body Problem. Author Liu Cixin, I think is how you pronounce his name. It's a Chinese author, and I think it was translated from Chinese into English. If it is, it's a beautiful translation. But it's a really interesting book, and it's a good book. It kind of, the whole book, you're going through it, and it's like this, humanity's trying to progress, and then every time humanity fails and the world burns up, and then it starts over again, and every time humanity makes a little bit more progress but still makes the same mistakes and the world gets burnt up. I thought it was kind of interesting. But in his sci-fi trilogy, The Three-Body Problem is the name of the book, the trilogy, author Liu Cixin presents the dark forest theory of the universe. When we go out into space, the theory goes, we're struck by its silence. It seems like we're the only ones here. After all, if other forms of life existed, wouldn't they show themselves? Since they haven't, we assume there's no one else out there. Liu invites us to think about this in a different way. Imagine a dark forest at night. It's deathly quiet, nothing moves, nothing stirs. This could lead one to assume that the forest is devoid of life, right? You go into a dark forest, everything. I went camping one time up in New York State. This is back in like way early 2000 and like 2003 or something, 2004. And it was like the darkest I had ever seen anything, even in like wilderness Texas or whatever. And I unzipped my tent to go take a piss, and it was just like pitch black. I could not see my hand in front of my face, and it was so quiet. And I guess there was cloud cover, there's stars, no stars out, but who knows what could have been lurking out there. Like literally some kind of bear could have been right there and just like clawed my face off, and I would not have known any different. Let me just make sure this stream is holding up. Okay, cool. All right. And I would not have known any different. So yeah. But of course, okay, so nothing moves. It's deathly quiet. Nothing stirs. This could lead one to assume that the forest is devoid of life, right? But of course it's not. The dark forest is full of life. It's quiet because night is when the predators come out. To survive, the animals stay silent. Is our universe an empty forest or a dark one? So all that vast amount of space out there, is it empty, or is there stuff all around waiting out there? If it's a dark forest and only Earth is foolish enough to ping the heavens and announce its presence, yeah, let's send a satellite out there with a little golden record and show examples of our culture and just completely give ourselves up and naively and be like, hey guys, we're here. The rest of the universe already knows the real reason why the forest stays dark. It's only a matter of time before the Earth learns as well. This is what the internet is becoming, a dark forest, right? In response to, so you'll get this in a second, because you would think the internet is just total cacophony, right? It's just like stuff, chatter everywhere, cat videos, porn, everything you can think of, just out there, just constant noise. But and then Facebook, you get all, it's like the trailer park of the internet, and we'll get to that in a second, and the political crap and just the baseless opinions. So in my baseless opinions too. I mean, listen to me. I mean, what do I know? And I'm sitting here anyway. In response to the ads, the tracking, the trolling, the hype, and other predatory behaviors, we're retreating to our dark forest of the internet and away from the mainstream. So this very piece is an example of this. This theory was first shared on a private channel sent to 500 people who I know or have explicitly chosen to receive it. This is the online environment in which I feel most secure and where I can be my most real self. These are all spaces where depressurized conversation is possible because of their non-indexed, non-optimized, and non-gamified environments. Right? I got a point about Post-Tech and Farcaster that I just thought of, but I'll get to that in a second. Podcasts are another example. Their meaning isn't just expressed through language, but also through intonation and interaction. Podcasts are where a bad joke can still be followed by a self-aware and self-deprecating save. It's a more forgiving space for communication than the internet at large, right? So if you say something in the internet, predators are out there waiting to get you. If you say anything wrong, they're waiting to cancel you, to blow you up as a bigot or whatever, to fact check you. Believe me, I've been fact checked and all this other stuff and called names myself. So yeah, man, I'm out here in the wide world of the internet, and am I naive for doing so? Right? Am I setting myself up for predators to come get me? Maybe, I do have my safe little spaces in Discord groups, like in my DAOs. That's kind of an online. I mean, I heard of something. Let's tear down the facade that DAOs are really decentralized autonomous organizations. The VCs are not investing in us. We're not decentralized. We're basically online communities. But we're going and retreating into our online communities, away from the dark forest into our little cottages called online communities and DAOs where we feel safe. And I'll get to that in a second too. So yeah, let's see here. So non-indexed, non-optimized, and non-gamified environments. And back to this Post-Tech here. This Post-Tech, I mean, everything is about building up your brand and who you are, and having people invest in you. So are you really that safe, or you still have to deal with your worth being attached to some kind of value? Anyway, so dark forests are like newsletters, and podcasts are growing areas of activity, as there are other dark forests like Slack channels, private Instagrams, invite-only message boards, text groups, Snapchat, WeChat, and on and on and on. This is where Facebook is pivoting with groups and trying to redefine what the word privacy means in the process. I myself, on my phone, I have like 3 different chat groups with some friends of mine, and one of them's called Skeleton Crew, and there's 12 of us guys in there. We all skate, and we prefer, instead of like going into social media and all that, we prefer, and like posting our stuff through our main social media pages, we just talk to each other and we send memes to each other. And then I have Facebook groups, where we're all our safe little group, and we feel a little safer to say things in there than some random coworker or some gossipy relative might see something we post. So yeah, we're not just putting things out there in the dark forest of the internet. So it's spaces where depressurized conversation is possible. So anyway, the internet today is a battleground. The idealism of the 90s is gone. The Web 2.0 utopia, where all lived in rounded filter bubbles of happiness, ended with the 2016 presidential election, when we learned that the tools we thought were only life-giving could be weaponized too. The public and semi-public spaces we created to develop our identities, cultivate communities, and gain knowledge were overtaken by forces using them to gain power of various kinds: political, market, social, and so on. This is the atmosphere of the mainstream today, a relentless competition for power. As this competition has grown in size and ferocity, an increasing number of the population has scurried into their dark forest to avoid the fray. So who are these people now that are still online on the public platforms that are ballsy enough or dumb enough to be there, right? The Web 2.0 era has been replaced by a new Web squared era, like a little subscript 2 era, an age where we simultaneously live in many different internets. Where numbers increase hourly, the dark forests are growing. The dark forests grow because they are private, psychological, and reputational cover. They allow us to be ourselves because we know who else is there, compared to the free market communication style of the mass channels, where they're high risk, high rewards, and limited moderation. Dark forest spaces are more Scandinavian in their values and the social and emotional security they provide. They cap the downsides of looking bad and the upsides of our best jokes by virtue of a contained audience. This is a trade, and more people are looking to make. I totally agree with that. People are retreating into their own little online communities, and as I've said over and over in past episodes, the metaverse, the digital arena, is being lowered upon us, and then this mass open agora of communication is no longer suitable, because what happens in a large agora? Well, there's thieves and there's trouble, and a lot of times people start to panic and trample each other, and you can die. So people go and hide in their own little dark forest pockets, right? So there's a theory called the bowling alley theory on the internet. This author says, I went dark on the internet a few years ago. I took social apps off my phone, unfollowed everyone, the whole shebang. This was without a doubt a good decision. I've been happier and have had better control over my life since. Many others have done this and are doing this, a generation of modern wannabe monks. And this reminds me as well, I saw an ad on Instagram for, or I don't know what it was, a social media site, but for I can't remember what company was it, but it was basically making a Razer flip phone. And it said, for those who want to unplug. And all it was a flip phone with the functionality of text and calls, and that's it. And is that going to be the new thing? Are people getting now that sick of being connected and just being barraged with all this stuff that's happening on the internet, and then all this propaganda, and now with AI taking over and deep fakes, you don't even know what's real or not real? And that's where blockchain comes in. You could, AI and deep fakes can produce a car on fire and people getting stabbed and killed, and machine gun soldiers, shooting people Call of Duty style, going from house to house and all that stuff, and it be absolutely fake but look 100% real. It's possible, and it's everywhere right now. If you don't believe me, I mean, just go through some crypto Twitter for a little bit, and you can see people uncovering stuff like this. But yeah, so you don't know what is true. And then Scarlett Johansson, the actor, is going on a rampage now to fight against AI using her likeness and image, and basically putting things in her mouth that she never said. And a lot of celebrities are starting to now. People are becoming aware of this, and this is where blockchain comes in. This is where Web3 journalists need to start learning how to use blockchain technology to verify the truth and stuff like that. Because we can't just retreat into our dark forests. The smart people still need to stay out in the main arena. Otherwise, the idiots take over, and you get idiocracy, right? So now I'm ranting. It's a 6:03, and I got my flow. So anyway, So I'll continue with this article. The detachment wasn't just in politics. It was also true of how I shared my personal life. Milestones from me and my family were left unshared beyond our internet dark forest, even though many more friends and members of our families would have been happy to hear about them. Right? So we're just sharing in our own little community groups really amazing nuggets of ourselves and our personality, and we're not putting it out there for anyone else to see, even though some of these friends and members of our family may be happy to hear them. Those of us building dark forest risks underestimating how powerful the mainstream channels will continue to be. So what happens when the smart people start leaving the mainstream channels? Then the idiots take over. So not everyone who joined a bowling league when people did such things loved bowling. Many people loved being with other people first, and bowling came second or none at all. Being together is what mattered. The venue did not. This is the bowling alley theory of the internet, that people are online purely to meet each other, and in the long run, venues where we congregate are an unimportant background compared to the interactions themselves. Do we meet on MySpace, Tinder, or LinkedIn? Doesn't matter. When I went offline for reasons of personal wellness and productivity, I stopped going to the bowling alleys altogether. But lately, I've started to question that decision. Not me, the author. I'm reminded of what happened in the 1970s when the hippies bruised and bloodied from the culture wars of the 60s, retreated into self-help, wellness, and personal development. As Adam Curtis documents in his series, The Century of Self, while they turned inward, the winners of the 60s culture wars took society's reins. A focus on on personal wellness created an unintended side effect, a retreat from the public arena, and a shift in the distribution of power ever since. So yeah, basically shit went downhill, because the intelligent people went in to focus on themselves and got out of the main arena, and the idiots took over. So it's possible, I suppose, that a shift away from mainstream internet and into the dark forest could permanently limit the mainstream's influence. It could delegitimize it. In some way, that's the story of the internet's effect on broadcast television, but we forget how powerful television still is, and those of us building dark forests risk underestimating how powerful the mainstream channels will continue to be, and how minor our havens are compared to their immensity. So no matter what type of little text groups we have, or subgroups of Facebook or Instagram channels, and or Discord servers and all that, where we can freely share our ideas and opinions without worrying about being canceled, where people get our jokes and get us, mainstream media will still be there. And we still need to figure out a way to fix and participate in it, so the idiots don't take over, right? So the influence of Facebook, Twitter, and others is enormous and not going away. There's a reason why Russian military focused on these platforms when they wanted to manipulate public opinion. They have a real impact. The meaning and tone of these platforms changes with who uses them. What kind of bowling alley it is depends on who goes there. Should a significant percentage of the population abandon these spaces, that will leave nearly as many eyeballs for those who are left to influence, and limit the influence of those who departed on the world they still live in. If the dark forest isn't dangerous already, these departures might ensure it will be. So yeah, man, don't retreat from the mass public agora. If you're smart, don't. Because we need you. We need your opinion there. And this is the only reason why I continue to broadcast. I mean, yeah, I'm not the smartest tack in the drawer, but I'm learning, and I'm okay with making mistakes. And, we're just beat down constantly and, told by them, by ourselves a lot of times that we're dumb and stupid and our opinion is worth nothing. It is. It's worth something, and you learning is worth something. Anyway, so that's the dark forest theory of the internet. I also found this other article. This kind of reminds me of Dow's Secular Churches for Continuity. And a lot of people have gotten fed up with church, fed up with religion. I went to seminary. I studied religion for 7 years. So I've kind of worked through a lot of my religious issues. But a lot of people haven't, and understandably so. And then right now we're seeing entire wars between Jews and Muslims going on over in Palestine. And it's easy to just blame religion. And there's a lot of, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of, all that problem. But I found this article. It says Secular Churches for Continuity, and it starts as, I tend to describe modern life as fragmented, lacking a canonical place to create continuity from shared experiences. People rarely collide on a regular basis and end up separated from one another, despite wishing otherwise. And this ties into the previous article about everybody retreating into their dark forests, into these little spaces where they can say dirty jokes or controversial stuff with people, that will get them, and that understand that not everything is to be taken at face value, that people that know their personality, and, where they feel safe from the big bad predators that lurk quietly in the dark forest. So, so people are now, that because that used to be a space where the church was. You have young and old together. You have people of all walks of life meet together around this ideology. And so anyway, so although there's abundances of space, events, and communities, they tend to lack continuity unless you're part of specific groups to work, school, clubs, activities. I'm not aware of something that spans all these contexts other than places of worship. I re-encounter people mostly by chance, so it happens we showed up at the same thing at the same time, or by appointment, we booked a one-off time to meet and honored it. With luck, it might happen more than once, but continuity is a struggle. Committing to a recurring schedules is challenged by modern forces, but not limited to survival responsibilities like work, family, self-care, etc. A culture of busyness, the feeling of limited time to pursue one's own interests, the idea that recurring meetings stagnate the dynamic. Perhaps there won't be enough to talk about. Compartmentalized living creates friction to knowing one's neighbors. I might not be seeing past my personal difficulties in dealing with this. Well, maybe I'm just hoping to recreate something I felt was lost when I left the church. But I'm sure other people also struggle with these impediments, or worse, feel like they have no place to go. Right? So what's missing? This author says, the author, is this a he or she? I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. It says, I grew up in the church and it was a significant part of my life until adulthood. So it's the context I'm most familiar with. After spending the more recent portion of my life mostly in secular spaces, I notice and miss things that I would like to have as part of my experience. It happens every week. 1. It's okay to miss it. Even if people attend different time slots, you might catch them between services and have a chance to connect. Or you can pass various stages of your life there. Or possibly all of it. 2, everybody is there. Everybody is in quotes. A mix of friends, colleagues, co-workers, families, acquaintances, across interests, age groups, levels of education, or physical and mental capacities. That is one cool thing about church that I do miss is all the different people that were there, and people that you would never think that you'd become friends with, that you end up becoming friends with, right? 3, low barriers to participation. Encourage the previous point. Being a professional is not necessary, and there are no entry fees or technical requirements. Non-believers are usually welcome. 4, community space. Actually, non-believers are usually encouraged to come to. 4, community space where other things happen during the week. Probably a local physical place, but various aspects could be translated online. 5, not cohort-based like schools. People may leave it, but not on a schedule. It's natural for different waves and generations to interact over time. And then 6, everyone doing something together, perhaps through music or rites. There are various roles for people to participate. So yeah, man, this is like a lot of these things I noticed were in Bankless DAO when I joined. I got airdropped the bank token, and a lot of people coming into the Bankless DAO online in that Discord server. I guess the basic requirement was the barrier to participation was kind of learning how to use Discord, but a lot of people didn't even know how to use Discord, myself included, whenever we first joined the DAO. And we just set a regular meeting time. There's a community call once a week on Friday at 11 p.m. Central Time, still going on. But there's all these other little subgroups in there that people could join. And you found a community. Like, I joined the Audiovisual Guild, and I was not very skilled at audiovisual stuff, but I have since then built up my skill set. But then a lot of other people in there were also not very skilled at that type of stuff, but it was an interest. And every single week we decided to meet at the same time. We didn't always talk about, well, we barely talked about AV stuff, but a community was formed, and with tons of different people that I would probably never have interacted with or come across in the first place. Lay people, total professionals working at broadcast television stations, people in Hollywood, and then just, construction workers. I worked at a propane hose plant at the time. So, all these people interacting. So that's kind of what DAOs have created, kind of digital online secular communities in a way. So I thought that was interesting, So this author says, I'm not sure what to propose as a way to cultivate these properties in a secular context, but I've seen some ideas at hinting at broader ranges of people to get together on a regular basis. You could do a Sunday assembly. It might be a literal translation, a weekly gathering of people who listen to talks and sing popular music together. Or you could do places devoted to social lubricants like coffee or alcohol. I mean, wouldn't that just be a coffee shop or a bar? But there's an interesting snippet here. Vienna in the 1900s was famous for its cafe culture, and one of the big drivers of that cafe culture was expensive newspapers that were hard to get, and as a result, people would go to the cafe and read the shared copy there. And once they're in the cafe, they meet other people also reading the same newspaper. They converse and exchange ideas, and they form a community. In a similar way, TV and cable used to be more expensive, and so you might not watch the game at home. Instead, you go to the local bar and cheer along with your fellow sports fans there. But as the price of media continues to fall over time, thanks to technology, this shared necessity that we use to bring our communities together falls away, and we have so many amazing options for our entertainment, yet it's easier than ever for us to wind up consuming these options alone. Our communities are bearing the consequences. For example, the number of people who report having at least 2 close friends is at an all-time low. I believe that one of the major contributing causes to this is that our entertainment today allows us to be separate. I mean, COVID brought a lot of this in, and COVID, however, got me connected into the Bankless DAO, and I met all these people online regularly. Once a week, we would meet up and talk. And then now, recently, I've met a lot of these people in person, face to face, and I don't know. Humanity will continue to figure out ways to be in person and to meet each other. This author's hope: I would like to see lifelong communities built around continuous learning, as described in this post about free schools. So yeah, that's basically what this DAO group was, the AV Guild. It was basically a free school. It was a communal spaces, and schools should be like this, always open, welcoming, and safe. A place like this provides a safe place for people to learn, get practical experience, and express themselves. And that's exactly what I did with the AV Guild. It was a group of people with like-minded interests wanting to learn something. So, I mean, I don't know. This post doesn't really talk about the dark forest of the internet, but it kind of dovetails along with this previous article about people jumping into smaller groups in order to protect themselves from the large, massive predators out there in the open media space. So there can be some good in those private groups, but take those skills that you learn and then go back out to the main market, the main media space, and don't let the idiots take over. And then finally, there is an article here. Let's see here. There's a Dark Forest game on the internet, a massively multiplayer online game. It's a decentralized MMO space conquest game built on ZK Snarks, a powerful cryptographic tool to tie all this back into crypto and Web3, because I kind of got a little off track there. The universe is infinite and cryptographically specified. Through the conquest, the players can level up, capture another player's planets, and also collect ERC 721 collectibles, which are NFTs. So why is the Dark Forest important? Dark Forest is one of the first decentralized incomplete information game. An example of complete information game is CryptoKitties, right? Here, players know the full state of the game universe, who owns what kitty, the traits of the kitties. Incomplete information games have hidden attributes. The full state of the universe is not disclosed, and the players have to grind it out. Dark Forest can maintain a similar structure, keeping the planet locations secret and still stay decentralized. Players don't submit the coordinates of planets conquered. Also, inspecting the Dark Forest hashes will expose nothing about where other players actually are. So, interesting game here. I'll leave this link in the notes. So yeah, if you're really into that type of stuff, I'm not, but this game is, I mean, it's kind of an old game. This was February 15th, 2021. And a lot of these NFT games kind of ran their course, and then they got really expensive from people trying to collect these NFTs. And I have a few of them from some Monsters game. I don't know. And then people got rugged, the devs backed out of the project and everything like that. And they got they fell victim to the Dark Forest. Anyway, so here's another article, one more here. I wanted to kind of tie all this back into crypto and Web3 and Ethereum and all that. How to survive in the Ethereum Dark Forest. All right, so now here's the Ethereum Dark Forest. If you've made it this far, Ethereum is a dark forest, a term popularized in crypto by Dan and Georgios from Paradigm. If you haven't read the post, I highly recommend it. Okay, but the Dark Forest is actually a science fiction book that brings in the concept of a dark forest, and that they're talking about the three-body problem by Liu Cixin that I talked about earlier. So how does this relate to Ethereum? To be more precise, this problem applies to almost all chains, but we will focus on Ethereum because it's the chain with the biggest TVL, total value locked by far. Following the Dark Forest analogy, the predators are bots searching for any opportunity there is to make a profit for themselves. Right? These predators lurking around in the dark, and you're just wandering through, and hey, anybody home? Anybody here? Just keep in mind that a lot of the times, not always the profit they make is at the expense of the users. So there are tons of bots. There are tons of scams. The people say the crypto is the frontier, and we're the people out there exploring it. We're really out there. It's a lawless frontier out there in Web3 and crypto space right now, and so you got to learn how to protect yourself. But don't be afraid to continue to venture out, which brings back to the point. Don't just retreat in your dark little pocket. Stay out there. Just learn how to defend yourself. So following the dark forest analogy, the predator bots are searching for any opportunity there is to make a profit for themselves. The purpose of this post is to understand on a high level how those predator bots operate and how to avoid them. That's one concept that I did not know until I started doing this the high level and low level, until I started getting into Web3 and crypto. Like high level is whenever you're thinking about concepts, like philosophical concepts. It's not like looking down on somebody like, I'm higher than you, I know better. No, and then low level is like when you're looking at the intricacies in the code, and you're looking at the actual mechanics of how something operates. So just to clarify, when I say something is high level, I'm not saying better than thou. I'm saying larger concepts. And then when I say low level, we're looking at the minute operational details. So anyway, so the purpose of this post is to understand on a high level how this predator bots operate and how to avoid them. In order to truly understand what is going on, we'll take a first principles approach and actually interact with one of these predators on the Ethereum mainnet. So prerequisites: you'll fully grasp everything if you have the following skills, but you can also understand the overall idea if you don't. So a general understanding how an EVM, Ethereum virtual machine, works, and then Solidity and JavaScript. So we're not going to go into all that detail. So if I were to dig into Solidity and JavaScript and all that, that's going low level. So I'm going to keep it high level. MEV is formerly known as minor extractable value, more recently as maximal extractable value, and it refers to the maximum value that can be extracted from block production in excess of the standard block reward and gas fees by including, excluding, and changing the order of transactions in a block. Without going into too much detail, what MEV means is the amount of money that a certain entity, a miner searcher, can extract by changing something about the transaction ordering. So whenever you are swapping something, like you want to change in your Ethereum for Ocean Protocol token, say for example, right? And then the gas is pretty high, and you submit to a transaction. Well, whenever you are submitting for transactions, there's something called a meme pool, which is a lobby or a waiting area waiting for that transaction to be done and finalized and then put on the blockchain. Well, everybody in that meme pool is waiting for their transaction to come up. Well, there's bots in there and that are looking at different prices and gas prices and things that people are paying, and so they will monitor that. And they will throw in a transaction right before yours by paying more gas and then drive the price up and then make you have to pay more gas. Then they'll drop a transaction right after you. And then they will arbitrage that's a lot lower. And then they will arbitrage the difference in gas and then pocket that. And then it makes you have to pay more in gas. I mean, it's kind of a really rough explanation of it. But that's, without going into all the mechanics, just know that that is one way in which you are being kind of scammed into paying more and to stuff like that. So the author says, what does this mean? So think about for a second what happens behind the scenes when you send a transaction. What happens when you press send in your wallet? The short answer is you're entering the dark forest. When you send a transaction, you're assigning a bunch of data, usually an object that looks like this, and it shows some code here. The moment you press send, you're signing the transaction intent, and your wallet provider is forwarding it to a node, usually running Go Ethereum. The problem with this is that your transaction is not immediately inside the blockchain, aka the safe zone. It's in that public meme pool, the waiting area, the lobby that I was talking about. There's a little graphic of it. It shows transactions going to the mining nodes into the blockchain. And that's right, everybody can see those pending transactions. This has tremendous implications. Just for you to have an idea, at any given time, there's around 180,000 pending transactions waiting on the meme pool, and a block usually contains around 180 transactions. And actually, there's a website called TXSTREET. I think it's .com. No, not. Who knows what's going to pop up from that TXStret? No, it's not what I'm trying to go to. The TXSTREET. Transactionstreet.com. All right. All right, so let's take a look at this visualizer. All right. Okay, so as you can see here, and I've pulled this up before on past episodes, but you see all these people waiting to get on the train. This one on the right is Bitcoin, and this one on the left is Ethereum, and this is the meme pool. So yeah, there's all types of predators lurking around in this crowd, this bots just waiting to pickpocket people, basically, is what's going on here, right? And so that kind of gives you an idea. And then these subway cars, these buses and all that stuff, this is the blockchain. So they're waiting for the transaction to be done, coming from all these various places to be put on there. And I thought this is like one of the best visualizations of the meme pool and the blockchain that I've ever seen. Anyway, back to this article. So in this crowd here, this is where all the thieves and bots and scammers lurk, and that's the meme pool. All right, so the predator. Okay, now that we have a general understanding what MEV is, the meme pool are like, let's see all this in real action. You should not do this unless you really... Okay, so then it gets down into the code. But anyway, without going into the code and all these bots and flash bots and all that type of stuff, it's available here. I'll put the link in the article, but I just kind of wanted to just tell you what the dark forest is for crypto. It is... it's the meme pool. You know, it's one of the places where you can get robbed and stuff like that. So basically, you just have to find your people, find your group. Yes, you can retreat into your little space, but then you need to continue to interact and to help the betterment of the larger space as a whole, and not let the idiots basically take over, I guess, is the moral of this entire episode. So I've been going on for about 45 minutes, so I will can it now. Yeah, I don't know why, I just felt inclined. I went through a lot of different aspects of dark forest and what it means, from the philosophical to the technical with the meme pool. Yeah, just protect yourself, find your community, educate yourself, and stay protected. Let me move this date here. I was moving things around and on my layout, and there we go. November 8th, 2023, episode 503. It is 6:27 in the morning. You can find me on Twitter at Eureka John, the number 1. You can find me at Discord at Eureka John. I'm on Telegram too. I don't really use it all that much, but as Eureka John. Let's see, Eureka Street Creative at gmail.com. And yeah, man. Yeah, hit me up. Let me know. Subscribe on my YouTube channel. Leave a comment. Smash that like button. I'm at like 1,000 subscribers. No, I'm not at 1,000 subscribers. I'm at 991 subscribers. I'd like to get back to 1,000. I'm not exactly going to monetize off of it, but it's just kind of like this psychological landmark. I'm reading this book right now. F.A. Hayek, The Road to Serfdom. I'm trying to grasp my head around what neoliberalism means, and how Hayek may have contributed to it. It's an interesting book, and some really interesting thoughts on decentralization. I think I'll talk about a little bit of that next time. Go to the Journo DAO, and you can join our Discord group, and me and Spencer in there, he's Clint Minnick. We're reading this together and kind of have a little reading group called Hayek, I guess, at Road to Serfdom. And we started a channel in that server. And yeah. All right, man. Oh, and if you want a free NFT, send me your Ethereum address. Let me see here. OpenSea.org. I have an NFT for the 500th NFT, and I will send that over to you if you want to take a look. See, there it is, right there. That's the 500 episodes for the NFT. So I'll send that to you free. I still have about 400. I've made 500 of them. There's about 400 left. So yeah. And aside from that, that's all I really have for today. And I will try to do this live again tomorrow and try to keep it on a roll. I will talk to you